Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back to Coming from a Brown Girl and tuning into us chatting yet again. I'm Rina Kumar and say hello to my bestie, Kali.
Hi guys, how's everyone doing? Hope everyone's week went well.
I had kind of a so-so week. How was your week, Kali?
Thank God it's Friday. It's over and mama needs to go to bed.
You say that because you're working, but I'm more of a stay-at-home slash semi-career mom, and weekends are always kind of the rougher part of the week for me. So, yeah.
Too many people at home, eh?
Yes, yes. No more solitude for the next, what is it, 48 hours?
Yeah,
Uh,
interesting enough, when I was on mat leave, I thought the same thing. Like I would look forward to like my Mondays and Tuesdays where I could like cuddle with my baby and like have some my alone time with like Netflix.
yes, yes. Speaking of Netflix, um, Harry and Meghan's new documentary dropped. Have you seen it yet?
Mhm. I just turned it on while I was cleaning the house, and I was like kind of trying to decide if I should sit down and like absorb every detail as you know I do because I'll rewind if like somebody even coughs when I'm watching TV, or if I should just play it in the background. And I ultimately decided I was just gonna play it in the background because it didn't quite catch me, or something about it was just, I don't know, it does definitely is not like the It documentary.
I agree. Did you know they made $100 million for like that? I don't know if it was for that specific documentary, but maybe like a collection of,
What?
yes, $100 million contract. And the trailer dropped. I was super excited for it. And then the second trailer dropped, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so good. And then I started watching, and I was just like, I don't know. I was just like disappointed a little bit. It was just kind of wah wah wah. I don't know if I set my expectations too high or what the deal was, but I don't know.
Okay, so wait. Two things from that. Firstly, like when you tell me they got paid $100 million for that documentary, like it really makes me ask the question, do we pay people based on who they are, or do we pay them for the work they do? Because there are
So
so many better made documentaries than that. In my small glimpse, I will be fair, I haven't seen the whole thing and I didn't pay like full attention, but like how is that $100 million documentary versus like, I personally think one of the best documentaries I've seen in recent times is The Last Dance, which is the Michael Jordan one.
Oh, that is a very good one. Okay, so to recap that, it's a multi-deal, I think $100 million. So not just for this content, but I think they have to make like subsequent content as well. So that was $100 million deal.
Oh,
And I think for Netflix, this is way more profitable. I think like just like think about how many like day show and night show like hosts are just even talking about the documentary. It caused a stir and
yeah,
sure, and it's also international release, right? So I don't think
right.
like I don't know, somebody in some random country is not going to care about Michael Jordan's The Last Dance. I would
Okay,
presume as much as
firstly,
they carry about Harry and
okay, well,
Meghan.
firstly, I think a lot of people care about Michael Jordan. He was an
Okay,
international
fair,
icon in
fair,
his day. But
fair.
having said that, I see what you're saying. Like I like one of my biggest role models is Diana, like Princess Diana. I'm obsessed. So anything, I will literally watch the same documentary 100 times. I watch like all her interviews like a million times. So I could see how that's fiscally still a smart decision, but I don't know. I'm gonna tell you, initially when I found out about Harry and Meghan, I was really rooting for them because I was like a Suits fan and I was like, oh wow, like that's impressive. But I really became a non-fan when I found out like the whole the whole um royal family's more than I expected. I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't even know who he was. Like I found that whole storyline disingenuous. And then I became, I'm not going to lie, a little bit of a hater.
Yes.
And I think that's because I feel so passionately about Princess Di. And I feel like Princess Di like entered the royal family as an 18-year-old and ended up marrying a husband that she was completely in love with, who completely had another love. And like I feel like her situation walking in and her saying, I had no idea what I was walking into, like made sense. But for like Megan to pull the same line as a 36-year-old who has now been evidenced to have, understanding of the royal family and like has a career in celebrity. Like I found that whole thing disingenuous. But I do think now I'm kind of becoming the hair like back to a Meghan and Harry. Not a fan, but I kind of feel a little bit more compassion and understanding for them as I see snippets of the Netflix
Yeah.
documentary.
I don't think it's like a great situation to be in, but it's also at the same time, in my mind, a little difficult to feel like completely sorry for them.
Oh my God, right? So I saw that opening scene of them on the couch. They both like look amazing, which is great. But did you see the back, those like curved like windows? Like that's like what I want in my dream house. And I'm like, it's so hard for me to hear you say poor me when you live in this like massive, massive mansion. And I didn't even know the 100 million part that you just said. So
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I
Yeah.
do feel compassion because I mean, it's like I do believe that they found that whole situation so trying. And then the little bit that I did hear, whenever like Harry compares, like, whenever he says, like, another woman in my life being totally like bombarded and broken down by the media and by like the news, that of course, like, just breaks your heart.
Right.
But yeah, I hear what you're saying. It is hard to feel sorry for people who do live very privileged lives.
Yeah. I don't think the racism thing is obviously like right at all. Both of us are visible minorities. We know what that looks like day to day. We know what that means for our children. We know how it feels to be scared in a place where people are not supportive of you just because you look differently. So I think
Mhm.
we both understand that piece. But I mean, it's still hard for me to
Yeah.
be like, I feel sorry for you, especially when you're living. I don't know exactly how like the finances in the royal family or whatever work, but I mean, they're not worried about like, am I going to lose my job when the recession hits, or am I going to be able to like visit the restaurant or afford Christmas gifts for my children? Like, that's not at all what their situation is. So that's
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
also, I don't like, as you probably know, Kali, I have like a um innate dislike for people who get things in life just because they are pretty, and you guys through
Yeah,
listening to us will come to learn more about me. Like if you got anything just because of the way that you look, then I am totally turned off by you. So
yeah,
I think there's a huge part of that that played into this Meghan and Harry story as well. So
yeah.
I mean, he did not marry her because she has this great personality. I'm sure that's a small piece of it, but I would say,
Okay. You
yeah,
can't say small piece of it, but yes, like I mean, her looks have definitely lent some good fortune to her.
yes.
But okay, so that brings me to like the race piece, right? Like, firstly, I think it's kind of crazy that even as visible minorities, like I'm not just as visible okay, so as visible minorities, but in general in victimhood, like how we like sometimes have this, and I have this where I'm like, okay, but like there's degrees, right? So like, yes, there's a lot of racism going towards her, but you know how like some of us think, well, we've lived through worse. People have said worse things to us. People have
Right,
said worse things to us, and we've been in worse situations. Like sometimes there is an element of that in like how I process and perceive these things. And the other thing, like when I kind of admittedly was a little bit of a hater, is like Meghan Markle, like this is not like, okay, she does look like a black woman, but she's an extremely good looking black woman who anywhere else could really pass off as like
a swirly girl,
more, sorry, say it again.
a swirly girl. Like she like
Yeah, swirly, but even in the swirly, bro, like she's closer to like Caucasian swirly.
right.
Like like everything about the way she looks, like if she like got her hair like a little bit more like softer, like she could totally pass as like a Caucasian woman.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I like she's extremely lucky. Like she doesn't come into society as a dark-skinned African American featured woman. And like I'm not like, again, to tell you, like there is severity and there is degrees, right? Like it's the whole colorism conversation.
Right.
And like I feel bad for her, and I can see how she in the royal family is very black, but in the real world she's not that black. And I
Right.
don't when I say black, I'm not talking like literally about skin tone, but I'm just talking about the degrees of who we are as people. Like, I mean, even as brown girls, right? Like as darker brown, like I'm not even considered darker brown girls in my world of people. I'm considered medium tone, but I'm still like treated as less good looking than somebody who's way fairer than me. And I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
I do feel bad for her. Racism's wrong at all levels, but she's been a very lucky colored person,
Right.
really.
Yeah. And
That's
colorism
terrible
is,
to say, right?
yes.
That's terrible to say because that's again that whole like victimhood, like my victim is way worse than your victim, like like which
Yeah.
is
Like
something I do
comparing
a
stories.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which
But
is my trigger. That's my trigger. When people are like, "Oh, well, this bad happened to me," and I'm like, "Bro, like there's people whose like kids died and like people like who lost their jobs, like." Your woes are not as bad, and I know you shouldn't say that because I guess to each their own, but
right.
I don't know.
Small disclaimer, we obviously don't know all the facts. This is just from what we see from the outside world. Um,
100%.
yes. Now, just going on a tangent though, me and you have discussed this. Both of us are moms. I am a mom of two. You're a mom of two. Oh shit, I'm a mom of three. Sorry, I forgot the last one. I'm a mom of three and you're a mom of two. And we've talked about how we care for,
Did you just forget a whole child?
yeah, I did.
Bro,
Okay, so I want to preface this by my youngest is incredibly independent and she gets through life just on her own. With the
this is what I
exception,
called second child neglect.
third
Coming
child,
from the
third
youngest in
child.
the
Yeah,
family, that's just wrong, but
yeah.
whatever.
So me and you have had this discussion about how like we treat different children differently. And you've told me that even when you've observed my family that, I am my mom's prize child and they neglect my sister. In your eyes, you feel like that. Versus like in my mom's eyes, I feel like she thinks that, I needed protection versus like my sister could take care of herself and
Yeah,
therefore she'll survive the battle. And
yeah,
I was always given this extra protection, and I think that was something just my dad never gave me that, but my mom always felt like she needed to give me that. And I feel the same with my children. And interesting enough, when me and you discussed the whole Prince Di interview with Harry and what's her name again?
Prince
Margaret.
William.
Yeah, Prince William.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She said that he said in one of the interviews that, "Hey, my mom anticipated something like this, and therefore she left a chunk of money or something."
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
insinuated something like that.
He didn't insinuate it. He said it point blank, dude. And I personally thought that was the sweetest thing because like I said, I am a huge Prince Di fan. And like you guys don't even know, like I know every single little detail of it in every interview, every book I know. And as soon as he said that, like right away it resonated with me because I'm like, oh, she 100% did that. She put a whole chunk of money aside because I truly feel she knew in her heart that the family would treat Harry as disposable.
Right.
She also, I think, in her heart knew that he was not going to go with the flow and pick the quote unquote right person and the person in the sense that the person the royal family wanted him to choose. And
Mhm.
so therefore she knew he was going to rock the boat, and as soon as he rocked the boat he was going to be disposable because he's like what, like 8th or 10th in line, like he's never going to be like king, like they're not going to like hold him with kid gloves. Whereas with Prince William, I don't feel like she necessarily did that because she knew he was going to be taken care of by the family, which you're 100% right, just totally contradicts my principles in like how I assess families and like preferential treatment with parents and their children. But
Right. And
I don't
I
know. I understand why Prince Di would have done that.
yeah. So do you see it differently now? Because me and you have had very candid discussions, and I have openly told you that, my older child needs extra protection. He's like
No, I
emotionally.
don't see it differently. That's
Why?
bullshit. We're talking about like, oh, like Prince William got $100 million and is living the high life with the royal family, and Prince Harry's living the high life off his mom's money. No, I don't see the difference.
What do you mean you
They're
don't?
like they're doing the exact same thing. Like what I'm speaking about is like emotional, like emotional expectations, emotional well-being. Like I don't think in our discussions our discussions are like, oh, like your mom gives you more money than your sister, or your mom, like I don't think it's about like the, what do you call it? Like the tangible resources. What
Financial.
I'm talking about is like in terms of expectations and treatment and emotional, like emotional support. That's what I'm talking about.
And I don't know, I'm curious to know what some of our listeners think. Do you guys think that there are some kids that the parents protect more than the others? And do you guys see that as correct or not correct? Or should all children be like managed or dealt with equal um kind of, what is it, attention may be the right word?
I don't even know if that's the right word, but I'm going to push it further and ask the listeners something even more. I'll ask the question, do parents truthfully have a preferred child? And I know it's so taboo to say it out loud that you prefer one child over the other, but I'm going to tell you, I've had friends who have explicitly told me, uh, I prefer one child over the other. Obviously, not in front of the children, obviously, not in a negative way, obviously, not in like a heated situation, but just in an assessment of family dynamics. I know people who are very truthful to say, I do have a preferred child. And I sometimes find it disingenuous when people behave that way and then be like, no, no, I treat my kids perfectly the same 100% of the time. I don't buy that.
Okay, so I'm going to be on, I don't have a favorite child, but I do have very different parenting techniques and approaches to both to all of my children. Um
Sure. I- I'm not saying this about you, but I think that's the very PC response that probably most listeners are going to say when we say, hey, do you have a preferred child?
okay, so then let's turn it back on you, Kali. Then do you have a favorite?
Okay, so firstly, I will preface this by saying my second is only like 12 months old. So like I'm still trying to like get to know her and I'm still trying to even get used to the idea of being like a two-child mom.
So
So
you're
I'll tell
saying
you
for now your older one is your favorite until you get to know the second one better.
no, no, no. What I'm saying is I'm very immature in like my beliefs right now because I haven't even been doing two child, like I don't even know right now. Do you know what I mean?
Right,
Like who knows what I'll tell you in 10 years, right? Like I
right.
think a lot of, so when I say like my like assessment of that, I really truly think parents do have a preferred child, not in their love, but I think certain personalities just sync better. Do you know what I mean? Like, for example, one of my friends, she was a mom of three. So she had a daughter and then two sons. And when she did like disclose to me, and I say that like it's a big secret, but when we had this discussion and she said, hey, like my preferred child is my middle child, the reason why she said that is he's just the most easygoing with her personality. She just found him the less challenging to be around, the less challenging to parent, the less challenging to move through daily activities. And I think that's what's like, I think that's where that preferred child comes from. Not that she loves any three of her children less. So that's what I mean. Like, with my daughter, like, like when they're babies, they really don't have like full blown personalities, right? Like, she's not like falling on the ground, like throwing an entire temper tantrum, right? Like, as an older child. So I don't think those dynamics have played out for me yet, between my two children. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I would also argue that both of our second children are way more mellow than our first.
No, I think again that goes to the second child neglect.
All right, Kali, should we talk Real Housewives?
Sure. I am
Okay,
happy to talk about something light.
who do
So
you,
I'm going to disclose when I drive home from work, because I do have a long commute. Maybe I
yeah,
shouldn't disclose this because I don't want anyone to call the cops on me. I like play YouTube. I don't look at it directly, but I play like YouTube clips. So
right.
I'm going to be honest, I've never watched Real Housewives of Potomac. I watch reunions. So before I get into any shows, and how I actually got into Real Housewives to begin with, is I watch reunions. So my first break into the Real Housewives was actually I watched the first Real Housewives of New Jersey's reunion. Anyways, so I'm watching clips of Real Housewives of Potomac, and I've got to say that is probably the most well balanced cast.
What?
Every You don't think so?
I totally disagree. Okay, but anyways, I want to see how you think it's also well balanced. Talk to
Okay, so
me.
I'm going to explain to you my definition of well balanced. My
Okay.
definition of well balanced is that every single person brings equal drama, number one.
Okay.
And I feel like every single person knows how to read each other and give it back just as equally.
Okay, the
Like,
reading part is definitely yes. These ladies know how to read each other. That's for
yeah,
sure.
but what I'm saying is like, in other like Real Housewives, sometimes there's one person who's so damn good at it, and then there's one person who freaking sucks at it and is either cussing or wants to punch somebody in the face or something like that. Like I just find that that's not well balanced. Like if you got Kenya reading somebody who can't like spit out like a 5-word sentence in like 3 minutes, you're done. Do you know what I mean?
I don't
Or
know,
like
but
if you've got
have
hmm?
you seen the most recent episode where spoiler alert, Mia throws a drink and it gets somewhat physical?
So I don't watch the entire episodes. I told you I only watch
Oh.
clips. So yes, I did watch that. And like I thought it was like bro, like that was some good TV. Like Robin pulling out her like her camera and being like, "Let me record this." And by the way, and again,
I don't know.
this
I'm
also
disappointed with Robin this season.
that's what I'm saying. Okay, but anyways, I really okay, this is gonna like lead like I think lend itself to the whole like racist conversation about like Andy Cohen and how he treats the black housewives versus the white housewives. But bro, if you look at the particularly the black housewives series, the editors, they need their own peach. Like they are such shady motherfuckers. Like, oh my God. So you know when Robin pulls out the camera and it goes, um, um, instead of TMZ, it says like RMZ or something like
Yeah.
that. I was like,
Yeah.
you guys are shady mofos.
Okay. So on that note and the whole colorism thing, like all those ladies are the fairest of the fair with the exception of Wendy.
No, I would tell you that Candace identifies herself as a dark skinned woman.
Okay, yeah,
She's
sorry, I
not as
forgot
fair
about
as
Candace.
Giselle.
Yeah, I forgot about Candace, but
Yeah.
Robin, Giselle, who's the Grand
Okay.
Dame lady?
But
Karen, is that
again,
her name?
Robin,
Karen?
Robin, like, remember the whole Meghan Markle conversation we've had previously? Like,
Yeah,
Robin, like, is like on the spectrum of black woman is like, come on. Anyway,
yeah,
sorry, go on.
yeah. And I think all of them come from some sort of privilege. Like, even when you think about who they ended up marrying, who they like, who's in their circle, like, I feel like they surround themselves with those kind of people. I don't know if that's just accidental or if that's just the way things work out. Like, I don't know, like,
What do you mean? They surround themselves with people of similar like shade, like
looks
color?
looks I don't know if you like I don't
Oh,
know, I could be completely off base. Okay, I could be like maybe hot people just hang out with hot people, I don't know. And not to say that Wendy is not hot. She's incredibly accomplished, and like if there was somebody that would aspire to be in that cast, I would say it would be Wendy.
fair
But
enough. And Candace is an extremely good looking woman. I'd argue
yeah,
that probably one of the
she's
best looking women on
gorgeous
that show.
too. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. But I mean, I think there is like some piece of like, especially with Giselle and Robin, there's something about that duo I don't like. Those are the kind of, remember I was telling you I have like a pretty complex, like that
Yeah.
kind of dynamic
Yeah.
is the dynamic that I despise because I
Yeah.
feel like I was on the receiving end of that dynamic,
Yeah.
and not just the receiving end with the girls and relational aggressions, but just all the guys. Oh my God, oozing over
Yeah.
them. Like I'm just thinking back to college, even where all the guys would be willing to help that one hot girl, and like all the rest of us who were struggling in calculus or engineering or whatever the fuck it was that we were struggling with, nobody even turned around to be like, dude, do you need like help? But
Yeah.
oh my God. So I'm
So
Sri
I'm gonna
Lankan,
say
for those of you who can't
no.
tell. The Tamil guys, oh my God, oozing over two or three girls lining up to give them notes. Like, come on. But anyways,
Yeah.
go.
I mean, knowing you for as many years as I have, I could totally see how that show would be very triggering. Like
Yes,
the
it's
dynamics that
everything that's wrong with like
yeah.
society. And as a like, I'm not black, obviously. Like I just mentioned, I'm Sri Lankan, but like we have all those same dynamics in our
Yep.
culture too. Like how many times, like, well, you didn't go to dance class with me, but how many times have I had my dance teacher say, "Hey, like, you're not really good at looking enough, even though you dance really great. So let's put you in the back of the line. Like, or like very, maybe not, they don't say it exactly like that, but variations of that
Yeah.
um, are very prominent in our community. Or people will be like, oh, what a beautiful girl. I was going to say it in Tamil, but I don't know if people will follow that. But like, I don't know. Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is, like, I know like, I don't know. I'm going to be very honest with you. And maybe it's just because I'm paying more attention because they're my children and like they're my heart outside my body. And so I'm very, very sensitive about it. But like, bro, I know we're in 2022, but that shit ain't changing. Like, people like really say stupid shit relating to colorism, I think even now. And I don't know. Like, I look to the listeners, like, when does that change? How do we change that? Are you like, should you be the jackass who calls people out for making ignorant comments? Is like that the only way we're going to change it? I don't know. Well, I will say something that to me, I really kind of I just like it. It makes my heart a little bit warm, is how like Candace and Wendy, they have like this alliance with each other for that. I'm not saying it's only for that, but like Candace will back Wendy to the end because she in her heart understands or feels like they're targeting Wendy because of this colorism. And hey, by the way, like that brings up the whole Monique nonsense too, right? Like that's what I thought. Like I said, I'm not a big Potomac fan. I wasn't necessarily a Wendy fan. Like I have respect for her, like, but she wasn't like one of my favorite housewives. But when she turned around and was like, what did she say? She said, I'm not gonna listen to the nonsense because you used to be all against violence when it came to um Monique, and now all of a sudden you're like sympathize. Like she nailed that. She nailed it. That's when
Yeah.
I'm like, and she's officially like an OG like housewife. Like she's got obviously she's not an OG, but she's coming into her own.
Yeah. And on that note, we have about a minute to wrap up. But I'm in my 40s ish age, and you're a little bit younger, but all of my friends who were of darker skin color, I've actually surprisingly, none of them ended up marrying other Tamil people. They all stepped out of our race to get married.
That's probably because okay, I'm just guessing, but maybe they didn't feel desired by their particular community and like their response is, "Hey, fuck off." And
Yeah.
I'm going to go find a guy who thinks I'm fucking gorgeous.
Yeah.
And actually, you know what? That's probably true of like the people who are really close to me. I'm like just analyzing. I know one of my closest friends that's true of.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening, and share your thoughts with us. If there's anything you guys want to discuss, let us know. And thank you, and thanks for listening.